so far.
Yeah, great. Well, you've done good, you English people, sending us all over here.
Yeah,
You know? That's what I mean. Like this funny thing that
That was
we've
an
got
odd
this
punishment.
shared. My mum's from Kent. I've never been to the UK, but I really want to go back there. I get the feeling of that's where I'm from. You know, I've got to see what this is all about, and I really relate to English comedies and music. It's you know, and I seem to be surrounded by my best mate. Lived in he's from Ireland. He lived in London for 10 years. It's like, oh, everything you guys say, sort of, where actually, I think about your accent. I think you've got a different sort of accent. It's hard for me to place. Like, okay, when I think of, all right, I've watched The Young Ones a million times. You aren't any of those characters. Now, you're definitely not the Liverpool Beatles.
No.
Where's this accent and what's it all about?
So my original accent was South East London. It's not quite Cockney. It's similar to Cockney, but a bit further out, and it's a bit more kind of drawly kin. It's not a very nice accent. And
that's what all you guys say. I've got a mate who's a northerner. He says it's not very.
And yeah, there's so many. I mean, you've only got to change from one side of London to another, and you can hear the accent change. And let alone going from one city to another. And when I was 19, I moved up to Manchester, and up in Manchester, the Southerners aren't very popular. Hence, I tried real quick to lose my South East London accent, and got very neutral. Then I came back and lived in West London, which is a little bit posh, and so by the time I'd moved around and stuff, and then moved over here, and it's become quite a neutral English accent.
Yeah,
but
it is. Yeah, but it's still you've got a little bit of all things.
There isn't it, and there's still every now and then you'll hear a bit of up north as well. Yeah. And I still refer to a bath and a cup of tea. Which is kind of from time.
You know what I think? It must be a fact. It's, you guys have come from having castles and areas like that's your village. You still call them villages, for instance, and you stay in that village because just over the hill there's those people from Manchester, and you don't go over there because it's so risky. Well, fast forward 700 years, these real languages have developed. Yeah, something we haven't had. We haven't had any wars with anyone else. We've had no need to not connect. So all across Australia, we basically speak the same language. Only a few of us can pick it.
I find it quite strange that you can get on a plane and get off a plane 6 hours later and still you couldn't tell the difference between where you got on. Yeah. Whereas if you get on a train in the UK for an hour, it sounds completely different when you get off.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
And my partner, she's Scottish, and there's still times when she'll say, what was that? I didn't understand a word of that. And we've been together for years.
Do you know what the Limmy's show is?
No, what's that one?
Limmy's show. It's a great Scottish comedy. Anyway, moving on.
But there's and her dad is genuinely incomprehensible to me.
Right.
Despite we're allegedly both speaking English, but what? Yeah. What? Speak English, man. And
incredible.
Whereas in Australia, you don't get that. You don't get the mix.
We get either bogan, but every bogan can sort of pull it in. Oh, hang on a minute, I'm talking to someone's mum. Don't let it all hang out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys have got actual histories of castles, and what do you call that? It's a village, right? If you've got a castle in the centre of an area that, and I guess people didn't cross into. I'm making stuff up. What I really want to know is how does someone become a scientist? Like you would be the first person I actually know that, and because I've always had this thought to be a scientist. Yeah, what are you doing in a lab all the time? Like, well, who is actually paying you, and where does this all come from? Like, again, no one came to my school and said, "Oh my God, there's 10,000 science jobs going out there all the day. Well, you just wear these coats and you get quite well paid and you stay clean."
Well, yes, that's not the way it turns out, unfortunately. Yeah, so I went to uni, did a degree, and then went back to London, did a PhD, and then you enter the career.
Yeah, but what is the idea of a scientist? Like, what you are forever studying to break boundaries, or what?
So I can't speak for all science, but I was in biological sciences. I was in medicine, and you'll normally have a project. You'll apply for money. You'll try and get a grant, and then this is an important project. I'm going to work out how this gene works in this type of cancer or something like that. Right. And you'll beg, borrow, and steal.
So it's industry based. So
it can be industry based, but quite often it's there's either you've got like the HMRC in Australia, you've got similar thing like the MRC, the Medical Research Council, and you've also got, which is government funded, but you've also got all charities, so you'll have breast cancer charities and stuff, which will offer projects. So when you see the guys in the high street shaking their tins and saying donate for breast cancer, you put in a couple of dollars. Ultimately, that'll end up going funding a
group
grant.
Of scientists, that are dedicated to this topic.
And it'll usually be a surprisingly small topic. It'll be looking at one gene in one cell. What does it do? The way the media portrays it these days of this is a breakthrough, this is going to cure cancer, is more than 9 times out of 10 rubbish. It's one small step along a route, and then you've a little bit more than you did.
Right.
And it takes time, it takes money. But
did you actually see a breakthrough or two?
I published lots of things. I published quite a few papers and stuff, and showed this gene did that in this cell, etc., etc. Very, very small little advances in science.
Right. Was it enough in your industry? Obviously not, because you're a great photographer now. Like, was it enough to keep everyone at work motivated? Like, we're on the edge of something here. Can you feel it? Like, oh my God. And then you had that one person at work that was annoyingly, we're never going to find this, guys. What are we doing here for? Or as a scientist through and through.
An awful lot of your post-PhD scientists go through the same thing of they're increasingly looking for money rather than doing research themselves, either money for themselves or money for their group or whatever. Wow. And more and more time gets taken up with writing grants, and it sucks. And a lot of people drop out. So the way the world works at the moment is that you train people for 3 years for a degree, 4 years for a PhD, then they'll do 10 years of postdoctoral fellowships or something like that, and then they'll just drop out because there is no career path for anything other than being a kind of professorial success. Right. So they'll drop out and they'll do something either kind of related to it, they'll do science writing or something like that, or kind of go into science management, or they'll just drop out completely and go, I don't ever want to see a test tube again, which is what I did. And I still do a little bit of science stuff. I still do some editing and some writing and things like that. But it took me several years, but I'm finally comfortable when someone says to me, oh, what do you do? I'm a photographer. Whereas before I'd go, well, actually, I'm an ex-scientist that does photography. And it's taken a few years before I can go, I'm a photographer, and completely leave the science bit behind now.
If anything, that would make it very easy for you to not have to explain just what you explained to me just now.
Exactly.
I'm a photographer. Oh, got it.
Got it, yeah. The next question is always, do you do weddings? No, I don't do weddings.
No. Oh, man, weddings.
No, that's not me. That's not my style.
It's hard. Okay, explain to me. You've obviously done weddings before.
No, I don't do weddings.
Have you done one?
I've done second shooting. I've pretended to be the groom in a wedding shoot for somebody else once. Yeah. But no, that's not me. I'm not really what you'd call a kind of people person in the sense of
right. You're right. It's so easy to upset a bride or a groom and ruin their whole wedding. Look at this cover band I'm in. We often do weddings, and sometimes you're like, oh, geez, shut up. You're at a wedding. You cannot be the one that ruins this wedding by some crap joke or same goes for the photographer. My wedding, he was great. He was always this guy, and you look beautiful. Yes, keep telling that, mate. And just staying in the zone.
Because I work most of the time in the studio, and I'm working with either professional models or kind of first time models and stuff. And certainly with a professional model, okay, do this, do that, do this. No, do that again. Do that again. That wasn't quite right. Do that again. And you certainly can't do that at a wedding, and you can't do it with people with the mother-in-law that's 64 years old and is deaf as a post. That's not.
And you won't have any control over the location because they want to do it over there by the rock pools and it's overcast.
That's not me. So I do.
It's good you can have that choice.
Yeah, I do much more kind of stylized stuff. Right. Much more. Obviously, sometimes they're quite often they're paying me for a particular look, and they're paying it must look like this. Okay, fine, I can do that. But if I'm doing my own stuff, it's much more stylized and it's much more studio based, and it's kind of people say to me, "Do you ever use Photoshop on every shot that's ever been taken ever?" that's what photography is these days.
Yeah.
The tr-
Well, especially because you've got the shot in your eyes, in your mind. You know exactly what you want. You are taking the photo. You get it back and you go, look at that little glare, that little light that's just...
Well, a good photographer won't actually do that. A good photographer will be can actually see what's going to happen before they're taking it, right. And you'll also check on the back of the camera. But there shouldn't be surprises like that. But what I am doing is I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do with this shot once I've got it on a computer? I'm not just I'm not traditional in that sense. A lot of photographers are traditional. The guys that grew up with film cameras will still take that one shot and that's their shot, and they're not going to do anything to it. And Photoshop or anything else is cheating.
Yeah.
Which I don't really agree with, because the moment you pick up a camera and you put a lens on it and you adjust the settings, then you're altering what you're seeing. Right. The point of photography is not to represent real life; it's to show an image. Yeah. At least that's how I think. Other guys would completely disagree with me, and
they'd have to. That argument is kind of getting so invalid now. You know what I'm saying? Because technology has gone so far that you can't just say, look, I play guitar and I don't plug it into anything. I'm that kind of artist. Well, good luck. And it kind of was cool to say that, but now you can't say that in the years we are living in now. Same with photography. Geez, man, you can do that, but you can still be a great success because you're still providing you're still giving the art. At the end of the day, look, that's what I see in my mind. That's how I want to present it to the people. We had this artist. I'm sorry to cut you off again, but we have this artist that my wife loves, and she does portrait stuff for our kids and yada yada yada. I'm the dad that's dragged along to it. It's so boring to me, to be honest, because I don't have any involvement. I'm just I got to stand there and yeah. But it's something really cool that she does that I'm sure is the secret to her success. When you go there to choose your shots, and again, I'm just the dad, just the husband that pulls up. Okay, well, boom, the lights go down. The music goes up in this room and it's presented. These shots are actually presented to you on a big screen. And the way there's a whole lot more to it than just those shots she took in the park. She's like, the real sales pitch is what she has done in that room. And my wife's just like, oh my God, that looks so amazing. And the music is what is really selling her, that love feeling and all that sort of stuff. There's more to it. So going back to what we were saying about Photoshop, hey.
But I don't do the sell in that sense because I don't, because usually I'm doing a kind of modelling shoot rather than a portrait shoot. And also, depending on the shoot, but if I've been allowed to play with it, I'm not going to be doing a subtle bit of music and a bit of here it comes. Oh, that's lovely. What I want is them to click it open on a screen and go, Jesus, and for oh, didn't expect it to look like that, because I'll have played with it, I'll have changed it, and I will usually ask how much modification do you want? Because normally they'll be slightly slimmer in the waist, slightly more curvy bum, slightly bigger boobs, and almost everyone wants that. But occasionally you'll go, what have you done? Oh, sorry, I'll put it back. And sorry, just thought it'd be better. Right. And
I see what you're saying. So that's quite dramatic. Actual shape photography.
It can be, yeah.
Geez, it must be pretty good,
it's these days with Photoshop, it's the absolute standard. Okay. And a lot of people would say it's cheating, but it's what people want to see. Yeah. It depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing a kind of headshot just to show what they look like, then I'm not going to touch it. Right. If on the other hand I'm doing an image, a lot of I sometimes say that I don't do photographs, I do images, which is to say the photograph is just the starting point, and then I change it, and then maybe that you might call that art, you might call that cheating, but the image at the end is quite different from the reality of what I was looking at, and I do photography workshops, and one of the first, more recently, I've learnt to tell the people that are taking the photographs, you are not trying to represent what you can see. Because people, I was looking at their shots that they'd taken during the workshops, and I was looking at mine, and I'm going, mine are an awful lot better. Certainly lighting-wise. Whether it's just simple, the background should have been white, and mine was bright gleaming white, and theirs was kind of grey. Or it should have been black, and theirs was kind of grey. And I realised after a while it's because a lot of less experienced photographers are representing what they can see. Whereas I've got an idea in mind of I know what that's going to look like, and I'm going to make it bright and shiny or dark and